African dictators can be some of the richest people in the world and lead a country filled with the poorest. In this video, we are going to discuss top 5 craziest dictators in African history. Number 5. Charles Taylor. The first of many is Charles Taylor. Charles' full name is Charles MacArthur Yankee Taylor and was the 22nd president of Liberia. Charles ruled for 8 years from 1997 to 2003. Before he became the president of Liberia, Charles was a leader of a rebel group known as the National Patriotic Front of Liberia. Charles Taylor was accused of being a wartime criminal who committed several atrocities and crimes against humanity. This is due to his involvement in the Sierra Leone Civil War that occurred between 1991 and 2002. Charles Taylor was eventually found guilty at the International Criminal Court of Justice, The Hague, in 2012 for all 11 charges ranging from terror, conscripting or enlisting children under the age of 15 years into armed forces or groups, or using them to participate actively in hostilities, violence to life, health, and physical or mental well-being of persons, in particular cruel treatment, and in May of that year, he was sentenced to 50 years in prison. He is regarded as one of the worst dictators of Africa in the 21st century. Number 4. Paul Biya. One of the most developed countries in Central Africa, Cameroon has one of the highest levels of corruption in the world. There is also one of the strongest dictators there, former Prime Minister Paul Biya, who spends more time outside the country than in Cameroon. For a man who wants to be acknowledged for bringing democracy to Cameroon, Biya has undoubtedly done much to undermine it. While in power since 1982, he is accused of rigging elections, suppressing the opposition, and imprisoning journalists who dare to speculate on his health. Strictly speaking, he prefers to spend as much time out of the country as possible, returning only to remind people that he is still alive and to fill his pockets with as much public money as possible. According to the BBC, senior members of his government are often hired and spend their entire political career without looking at him. In 2009, his troops killed 100 unarmed demonstrators, and anyone who does not adhere to the party line may face violence from his security services. Number 3. Idi Amin. Idi Amin is one of the most famous warlords ever seen in Africa. He came to power in 1971 following a military coup. Previously, Amin was a commander in the Ugandan army. He ruled Uganda for 8 years, during which he earned the nickname, the Butcher of Uganda, following his brutal ways, with some believing he was a cannibal. In 1977, the United Kingdom decided to close its Ugandan embassy following the atrocities of Mr. Amin. As a result, the dictator declared that he had single-handedly defeated the British Empire in his country. Under his leadership, Amin was responsible for various inhumane acts, corruption, and murders. It is estimated that nearly 500,000 individuals lost their lives under his authority. Great news came in 1979 when he was ousted from leadership. The warlord later met his demise at the age of 78 years while exiled in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. He later declared himself, His Excellency, President for Life, Field Marshal Al-Haji Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC DSO, MC, Lord of all the beasts of the earth and fishes of the seas and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa in general and Uganda in particular. Number 2. General Sani Abacha. General Sani Abacha ruled for only 5 years, but during that time he operated a secretive and brutal regime that left Nigeria in absolute poverty. He obtained power through a military coup on November 17, 1993. The following year, he issued a decree that gave him absolute power by placing the authority of his government over that of the courts. He also issued a decree that would allow him to imprison anyone for 3 months without trial. He would be able to increase the country's foreign exchange reserves to $9.6 billion by the middle of 1997. He reduced the country's debt by $9 billion and reduced the inflation rate to 8.5%. which had been previously getting out of control at 54%. Sani Abacha is considered to be one of the most corrupt leaders in history because of the amount of money he stole from his own country. The main export of Nigeria was oil, and Abacha and his partners took control of nearly every aspect of the industry. The country earned about $10 billion a year from its oil sales, and it provides 80% of Nigeria's government revenue. But that did not stop Ibaka from siphoning a large percentage of that revenue for his own fortune. Human rights abuses were also rampant during his tenure, as he was known to kill or imprison any political opposition to his control. Torture and lengthy imprisonments for minor crimes were common. Relatives of those who were wanted by the government would often be imprisoned in order to convince the wanted criminals to turn themselves in. Number 1. Robert Mugabe. When it comes to Robert Mugabe, most of us will agree with the Western media that he is one of the worst leaders in Africa today. He was imprisoned for 10 years from 1964 to 1974, and when he was released, he went to Mozambique to create a rebel force to start the Rhodesian Bush War. He won the election for prime minister in 1980 and became prime minister when Zimbabwe gained its independence. As soon as he came into power, he started to consolidate it by creating a single-party state and employing a North Korean-trained security force to deal with dissidents. In December 1987, he declared himself president and consolidated all powers of the states, and gave himself the power to dissolve the parliament and declare martial law. In the 2002 and 2008 elections, it was known that Mugabe built torture camps to punish anyone that would support his opponent. Many believe that fraud and corruption are the only reasons that Mugabe remains in power, as he has driven a once economically successful country into ruin. Zimbabwe has the highest unemployment of any African country, with about 70% unemployment. Even after agreeing to a power-sharing arrangement and trying to appease the international community, he is still known for looting the diamond deposits and killing or torturing his opposition. Let us know your opinion in the comments section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay safe, and we will be back soon with another video.